Hey there viewers, my name's Torinski and welcome back to another Wednesday stream. Today we're continuing on with the 0.28 release tournament for DCSS, celebrating the new version of the game, much like we did the last, and trying our very best to hopefully at least get one win during this tournament session. I'm not putting too much pressure on myself. I unfortunately just wasn't able to play quite as much as I would have liked to during this past week and a half, maybe a couple weeks now. But regardless, ready to have some fun, jump back in, and hopefully make it out alive with our Genie Gladiator. We unfortunately are slightly too late to get the Nemlik's Choice points for it. I believe both for individual and for clan already reached the cap there, but that's all good. Still very much hoping that we can get some good fortune here. Maybe play okay today. It's been a bit of a rough streak for me lately. And of course have some fun. So with that in mind, let's jump into it. Can still get banner? That's good to know. Then not all hope is lost. We're still in this. And regardless, I was enjoying this character a lot last week, so I'm excited to get back into the mix. Of course, getting the Captain's Cutlass from Okawaru was a big boon in our journey here. I believe we used the Captain's Cutlass once in my series to win with every species in the game, and it lasted about until Zot, where it started to fall off just because of the slightly low base damage overall, but at the end of the day, it'll still keep our pieces together for now, and that's all we really need at the moment. Hey Brent, how's it going? Hope you're having a fantastic week so far. And okie dokie, we take a quick peek. This is as far as we got in Lair. We have found both the entrance to Shoals and Snake. Haven't finished our dungeon yet, so we'll probably just immediately get back into the groove in Lair here, and hopefully not see anything too frightening. We'll have to see. We also can take a quick peek as to what spells we've gotten. Because Ozakubu's armor, definitely handy for potentially keeping us alive. Fireball is actually more castable than I assumed, so we may actually be able to use that to decent avail here. It helps being in just the Acid Dragon scales that we currently have going on, relatively low encumbrance rating, and of course Blink is going to be extremely useful, especially if we find ourselves next to an 8-headed Hydra or something to that extent. So okie dokie. Let us get back into it, shall we? Hello, 8-headed Hydra. No, I was not just talking about you. So we could maybe try and petrify you, 28% chance. Maybe not so much, so scratch that. I think instead, let's just play it safe here and head up. Are we gonna go for any other banners? I'm not too sure. There were none of the other ones that really jump out to me. I think they could be fun for challenge sake though. So depending on how today goes and what time we might be able to jump back on over the next, I think 4 days, Sunday is when the tournament ends, we might have to take a peek and see if there's anything else we want to go for. Maybe inch out a few more points for the squad here. But for now, not too worried about it. And just gonna try to survive mostly. That Ice Drake is extremely scary on this character. Fortunately, we're not running around with vulnerability to cold. We have a protection from Cold Ring, but it's still pretty tough to get the pip here. Collect the Orb of Zot within 270 turns of entering Zot 5 seems fun. Oh yeah. Definitely a little bit frightening of an aspect to get my head around, but could definitely try it out, especially with something like that. It's really nice if you've managed to get through the majority of your game without using too many things like blink scrolls, because then you can kind of cheese your way specifically through the lungs, right? That's where everything gets a bit rough. 270 turns to get through the sheer concentration of monsters in that area can be pretty tough, but as long as we have a pretty successful run up until that point, I feel like there is definitely a chance to try for something like that. Now, I wouldn't be surprised to run into this Hydropal once more. Ideally, not when we're already surrounded by a bunch of other monsters, but have to kind of just take whatever we can get. I see that we've already drawn some attention. Some new friends have joined us. Oh, Blink Frog, let's take you upstairs. You can see even against a single Blink Frog there, things are looking a little bit rough. And we don't cast Ozokubus immediately to get that extra defense. Let's maybe try that out this time just so we can compare the two. So that's on C. Do go up to 14 AC, which would be good if we were a pure spellcaster at this stage in the game, but as a largely melee combatant, definitely quite a bit lower than we otherwise might like to see. And if I chill into Ziggs, I can probably find broken artifacts and lots of consumables that makes it easy. Zom's banner is about Ziggs. Either Tier 1 entered the Ziggurat, Tier 2, 10th floor, and Tier 3 exit from the lowest. So again, yeah, that largely depends on the character. I do very much enjoy doing Ziggurats in this game. I find them a fun little challenge and so satisfying when you have something like Ignition up. Specifically, I like, I'm blanking on the spell now, Infestation and Ignition. Because then you just infest a bunch of enemies that aren't resistant to fire. Ignite blows all them up, then you have a swarm of death scarabs to kind of pluck away at the rest of the opponents. So depending on where this character is sitting, it's a potential. At least to enter one, that's no problem. Even 10th floor shouldn't be too bad on a relatively strong character. Finishing can get a little bit tough, but we'll have to play it by ear when we get a little bit closer to that stage in the game. Okay, friends, hopefully some... I was hoping that some of the Blink Frogs would actually... Oh, I didn't realize we had the +1 plate armor of the 11 gods. Harmbrand and minus Telly seems like a terrifying situation, so unlikely to go that route. Let's bring our new friends up to a nice little corner for ourselves. Taking advantage of a nice quick blink just to get ourselves out of the completely surrounded situation there. No, let's not move. I'll wait patiently. Come on, Blink Frogs, just come and meet your maker, please. Everything will go so much smoother for all of us. There we go. So there couldn't be too much left down here. Maybe another Blink Frog? I'm trying to remember. Genie is good for Ziggs with a good spell set because of the huge amount of MP. This is true. As long as you can afford it, you have good defenses in place, you can truly spam cast quite a bit more than you can on a lot of other characters. Funnily enough, Ziggurats are one of the places where McLeod becomes super powerful in a Genie just because of the sheer concentration of those monsters. You're almost guaranteed to get a few kills every cast of something, you know, huge like any of the level 9s, Shatter, Firestorm, even Ignition like I mentioned earlier. So you end up healing back a lot of the health that you're losing throughout the process. But we'll have to, again, see how things are going, because we don't quite have that capability on this character. Not only are we not falling McLeod, but getting those high-level spells might be a little bit tricky to get going off the ground, but we'll have to see. Shatter, Polar Vortex, and Ignition are all good if we happen to get any of them. We'll have to see, yeah, what spells we get. I mean, we're currently just up to 5, so there's still some room to grow, some room to go. We'll have to see what we end up getting on this character, whether we keep trying this kind of hybridized playstyle that we have been in for the last little bit here, or maybe, just maybe, we can truly start investing one way or another. And I don't love this. This is actually slightly better. Unfortunately, enemies can now sneak around and no longer fight us 1v1, but I was really afraid of having this alarm trap in sight with Blink Frogs, because all it would have taken is one getting teleported up above that, and they would have immediately stepped into it, ruining our entire day. Elephants, of course, do kind of pose an issue for our Ozokubu's armor here, just because they will force us to move, push us out of the way, and break said armor, unfortunately. 41 health is starting to get a bit sketchy. And yet you can see that I'm still just going at it because we are pretty close to finishing off the fight. As long as that Hydra doesn't come crawling out of the walls nearby, we should be a-okay here. Let's make sure we get our frozen armor back operational, and there we go. Again, health is a resource, so might as well spend it where necessary. Or where we can, I guess. Maybe necessary is a bit of a stretch when it comes to that situation. Oof. Oh, my Hydra friend. Wait, why are there no susceptible monsters within range? Ah, probably because the bush was in the way. That makes sense. I always forget about those little bushes cropping up. Well, my Hydra friend, 28% chance to petrify you. What else could we potentially do in this situation? I mean, we could try polymorph, though I doubt it turns you into something better. Definitely not. Fire Dragon, pretty scary. A little bit alleviated by the fact that we have 2 pips of fire resistance. But if we get a Bunyip out of this, then we are going to be in for a truly nightmarish time. So let's instead lead our Hydra friend down here, hopefully not meeting anything new, and it does look like we get a little bit lucky in that regard. Fortunately, the Hydra is not going to catch up to us, so we can freely take the little bit of a loop-de-loop there, head back upstairs. Maybe think a little bit about this fight. Can I kill an 8-headed Hydra? Definitely if I petrify you. I guess Anguish was kind of something that we've been using a decent amount so far. I've not entered depths yet in this game, right? You are correct. Yes, we've just made it down to D12, I believe. We can do a quick Control-O to take a peek. That does look to be correct. Let's try petrifying you real quick. Couple attempts. Okay, not bad. We do have good stabbing power with the Captain's Cutlass, and that does in fact do the trick. Using Anguish might have worked as well. I think that's how we dealt with a lot of the earlier Hydras in there, or at least a lot of the big scary threats that we come across in this game in general. But anything that forces you to take damage in order to give you the advantage can be a little bit sketchy, to say the least. Better than nothing, and it has been an absolute lifesaver earlier on in the run. But the petrify goes a bit smoother as we fall into a shaft. Fortunately, we're in a nice little isolated corner so far. As long as we don't make too much noise, don't bring in too many enemies. You're looking at which banners our team is missing? Awesome, thank you Colgate for doing that. TSO tier 2 banners gain 4 runes before entering depths. Interesting. Guess that's not too bad. Definitely not the order that I generally find myself doing it my own time, but I could see us potentially doing that on the right character. We'll have to see how things shake out over the next little bit here. At the moment, we're definitely still lacking in defensive capabilities in general, and one thing that I noticed when I was trying to refresh the run a little bit just before the stream today is we found almost no jewelry so far. So I'm hoping that that changes in some stage here, and we get to work out. Tier 3 is getting 6 runes before entering depths. Jeez. That... I'm trying to think, because the 4 runes made sense to me, because you do your S branches, and then slime and vaults. Nice and straightforward. In order to get 6 runes before entering depths, you'd have to get banished to the abyss at some point. I guess that might be as easy as just finding a distortion branded weapon and just equipping and unequipping it until it shuttles you off down that direction. Why am I blanking on runes other than that? You do need one of the Hell or Pandemonium runes. Interesting. So that might be limited to getting like the special lair final floor that gives you a Hell portal or something like that. Or, right, no, I guess tomb does make sense, though. Oh gosh. Collecting tomb before you go into depths? Definitely hope you just have a ridiculously lucky character that has found all of the pieces they need before that point. But that is definitely a rough one. Makes sense for a tier 3 banner, of course. So we'll have to see if we want to go for any of those. I might just take the 3 rune on this character and just get at least 1 win. Again, it's nice just to at some point in the tournament have picked that up. That's usually my kind of baseline goal, is to get 1 victory, and then anything else that happens along the way is just a lovely little bonus that we can tack on top. So I also always want to caveat those kinds of statements with who knows what we're going to find, what we're going to see. Okay, Sonya has really high evasion, but we do have Fireball. 7% failure rate, not too bad. Could definitely just try to blast you. Or actually, wait, could I paralyze you? 71% chance? No, never mind, we'll just miscast it. What's the 2% failure rate? Just a bit too high apparently for us. And there we go. Let's hope you don't blink around too much while becoming stone. Beautiful. Did have a short sword of distortion, so hey, if we were going for one of those fancy banners, that's one piece of the puzzle out of the way. We could try and get the Abyss rune before finding our way into depths. I have to see how everything shakes out. Oh, 6-headed Hydra. Oops, let's not accidentally wait out any turns. Ah, and you woke up, my friend. That's not how this was supposed to go. Let's try that one more time. There we go. That Petrify lasting a little bit longer, more so that we were just actually in a position to take advantage of it. Pretty solid. And we did just pick up an Amulet of Regeneration, so that is absolutely huge on a genie. Will definitely allow us to keep casting spells a little bit more if we do stay with this hybrid or pivot towards a full magic build at some point in the future. Amulet of the Acrobat has been providing some minor benefits when we have to retreat from enemies, but definitely an easy change there for me. Let's attune that to our uninjured body and get back on the road. You got caught 3 times in your own fulminant prisoner in one game? Oh no. It's always a rough situation when that happens. 2 first times, only complicated situation, but the third one was lethal. Oh, I'm sorry to hear it. Dying by your own hand, I mean, it just happens in this game. It's always a bit rough, but what are you gonna do? You're so disappointed about your incompetence, and then you'll play only Demon Spawn Conjurer until you get your first victory to learn to not mess up Fulminant Prism. It definitely takes some practice just to get used to the timing of it. Fortunately, I don't find myself getting caught up in the blast on my own too often these days. I've at least used the spell enough to get into decent habits around there. But my issue that I always run into is not remembering the blast shape perfectly well and getting my fulminant prisms to blow up my secondary prisms that we're trying to stack up in a staggered kind of setup. But in general, Fulminant Prism, I feel like, is a spell that takes a decent amount of experience and practice to get the hang of, and once you do, it kind of levels up to being the incredible spell that everyone knows and loves. That's something that I definitely was missing out on for the longest time, not really using that spell. And then kind of saw the light a bit more recently, and that brought me around. But okie dokie, we find a buzzing ringmail that turns out to be the +4 ringmail of Siapraphy. Willpower, pretty awesome. Resist corrosion, also very nice because it will be replacing our acid dragon scales that are currently supplying that resistance to us. Strength -3, not a huge deal. It's not detrimental in a piece of armor this light. Maybe if we were trying to wear something like gold dragon scales or, heaven forbid, something like crystal plate, then we might need those extra strength points, but getting the Slay instead kind of makes up for that at this stage. Deals pretty ridiculous amounts of damage for level 4 spell, definitely. Yeah, there aren't many level 4 spells, or I guess to even narrow it down more, there aren't many spells that you find within a starting handbook that can be useful throughout the entirety of the game. I always like to point a finger at our Genie run during the Win with Every Species series, just because using Fulminate Prism as our only way to deal with Orbs of Fire in Zot 5 is just wild to me, and that's what the situation that we found ourselves in on that run. But okie dokie, we finally hit a full inventory, so let's take this as a little bit of an opportunity to just purge through our inventory. We're still carrying around all of the tiny bits and pieces of armor that we had since the very start of the game. So this is the probably only time that we'll have a nice, easy inventory clear. You can just get rid of 9 things in one fell swoop. And let's definitely pick up our new armor here and take a look. I believe this will give us 4 more AC, as well as the other stats that we see on this. Of course, I lied. 3 more AC, but still, not bad whatsoever. We'll have to see how much this affects our spells, maybe? So let's put this on. And where does that leave us? Fireball is slightly more uncastable, but the rest is actually pretty sweet. So that works out fantastically. We do miss out on having our fancy gold armor, but sometimes these are sacrifices that we need to make just to get through in one piece. Being able to do damage outside of line of sight is very useful, especially if you get the antenna mutation. I like that. That's a fun little clever application for sure. And one of the, very rare occasions where you'll be able to do something like that. It's very fun. Okie dokie. Down to layer 5 now. I'm gonna try and not make the mistake that I've been seemingly making consistently as of late, which is accidentally finding my way into the last floor of lair before I'm quite prepared to deal with what it throws at us. But even just recognizing now that we're 1 floor away from that, I think helps out a great deal in the long run. Ooh, and hello, 5-headed Hydra. I'm kind of sad that Hydras still aren't completely highlighted in red, because that was a nice little warning, blaring warning light that would help me out. But we should be a-okay. Actually, right, I completely forgot that we got shafted and we never finished exploring this floor. So let's get going around, shall we? Perfect. We also have picked up a decent number of identify scrolls, so I really should practice some due diligence here and use those up. We have 6. Let's see what we get. Scroll Fog could definitely come in handy. And maybe want some more potions at our disposal. Invisibility is a good start for sure. What else do we have? Potion of Magic. Unfortunately not quite as useful, but that's fine. Mutation, fantastic to have a few of those in the back pocket just in case. And with our last ID scroll, let's get Ambrosia. Perfect. Can pop down here. Thank you so much, Spacian, for the follow. I appreciate it. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And with Felid, you managed to take out Smiters that would have killed you if you'd entered their line of sight. That is absolutely huge. Being able to kill enemies while they're far away from you in general is kind of core to a lot of Felids, because either they're smite targeters that are an absolute nightmare, or the spellcasters later on with things like Crystal Spear that are only able to be used over a distance of 3 spaces or whatever. It's definitely a huge advantage to just be able to keep your distance completely and not have to risk your pelt for each and every encounter. So well done. Yeah, very, very good use of the spells there. Oh my Komodo friend, I guess this is why we've been petrifying most of your buddies up until this point. That was slightly less than ideal. And onwards we go. Perfect, and now we can... No, right, we already finished 4 because we just completely jumped the gun and forgot to head back up whatsoever. Down to 5. Ah, hello. Frog's just chilling everywhere today. Hey, how about that? Let's blink. I was actually hoping to get next to this stairwell and we got exceptionally lucky. Now we can be just a wee bit cheesy and make sure that we're not needing to take too many extra terrifying risks here. Fantastic, absolutely love to see it. Can probably afford to rinse and repeat once or twice here before things get out of hand. Even just not taking quite as nasty of a series of hits on our way down and back up helps out a great deal. Please, sir, could you have this? I'll quiver my boomerangs. There we go. These boomerangs got us through some very interesting situations earlier in the run, if I remember correctly. Hydropal. 28% chance. Oof. Not great, especially when I immediately walk into your line of fire again. What do we do with you, Hydropal? I probably will just blink. That was less than ideal. I was hoping to land a little bit further away, but that is a-okay here. So we just continue to run a wee bit. There we go. The frog has cut us off from our Hydra friend. That does mean we could even just read a teleport scroll and then just have to walk away a wee bit here. Feels a little bit safer than just trying to lead them towards the stair and hope I get lucky not to get completely obliterated by the blink frog on the journey. Now we should be able to just reinstigate the fight with much fewer issues here. Or at least much less severe of an issue. Also funny to throw a prism into a room, close the door, and you feel more experienced. Oh yes, that is, if anything, the best way to play the game. The you feel experienced message, I love that it's not only just a useful piece of UI, but it is oftentimes just exceptionally satisfying because, of course, cool guys don't look at explosions. You can just lethally poison things and walk away being completely egotistical in all the best ways. But there we go. We've taken care of the Hydra, taken care of the majority of the frog pack here. Guess we have to be slightly patient while the rest come tumbling in. And there we go. Let's see where our skills are at too. It looks like just invocations is on the block right now. So turning fighting back on might be nice just to get us some more overall health. Helps us out in multiple categories, and we could even start training some shields or armor. I think I'm going to go with the shields route because we do have a nice kite shield just sitting for us in our inventory at the moment. We take a quick peek. Yes, the +1 kite shield of durable knowledge. 2 pips of RF. A little bit overkill with our current state, but if we find ourselves maybe a ring of ice or an artifact that has the ice ego on it, then that would mean being able to finally get some level of cold resistance instead of just zeroing ourselves out to neutral in that regard. No, I will not fire at the bush. I apologize, game. How silly of me. And there we go. Oh, my wraithy pals. Oh, it was Josephine. How about that? And also, a quick blade. +5 quick blade. That must have been from Okawaru. Yeah, it does say God Gift on there. Fantastic. Or Ice Dragon Scales. Very true, exactly, yeah. Just afford to get a little bit more creative in the future with how we get some of these resistances on our side. But a quick blade is very interesting. I mean, I like the Captain's Cutlass for a lot of these enemies, just because it has slightly more base damage than the majority of short blades that we come across. But if we can get maybe an electricity brand on that quick blade, That'd be absolutely huge in over the middle section of the game here. And could just be attacking a frankly absurd number of times each and every turn. So let's hope that that pans out in one way or another. Moving forward. Oh, hello. Arcane Toad. Can definitely petrify you. And then we'll just bounce back and forth. Perfect. Absolutely love to see it. This has already given me flashbacks to some of the Deep Elf characters that we were playing on Sunday, because Petrify played a pretty huge role on that side of things as well. It's a very advantageous position to put yourself in, especially with a short blade character like this. Absolutely fantastic. So let's try it once more here. We get a decent number of tries before the Hydra manages to close the gap. Might wake up. Oh, never mind. Thought with just how far we were standing when the petrification fully set in, it's feeling a little bit slow to me, but all good in that regard, apparently. Pearl Dragon Scales are also nice, but you seem to find them like never. Yeah, exceptionally rare to find Pearl Dragon Scales. It's funny because in general, I don't find them to be exceptionally useful. Oh, only 6% chance. Should not have tried to petrify you. Whoopsie daisies. Let's instead just maybe take you back. Where are our stairs? All the way there, hey? Well, that's a wee bit rough. Maybe I should have thought of this slightly earlier and gone for this trap door. But at the very least, the yak isn't faster than us. Herd of elephants, notwithstanding. Did not expect you friends to pop out. Though it kind of works out because they seem to have superseded the death yak, and I was much more scared of fighting a death yak than the others. So even, do I want to take these elephants maybe to a nice little hole in the wall somewhere? Even here is not actually too bad, especially if we managed to lose the rest of the herd, which it seems like we have. Perfect, we don't even have to go back to the stairs. But anyway, I got very distracted and thrown onto a tangent, but I was going to mention that Pearl Dragon Scales, pretty much every time I find them in the game, I'm very tempted to use them just because of how rare they are, but unfortunately, getting just that one pip of positive energy usually isn't better than whatever I currently have on my body. But it's always there, the temptation to wear them just because they're cool and rare. And they look pretty nice on a character as well, that helps. Well, my deathly friends... Do I feel any better about taking you on? We do have a condenser vein if we wanted to use that here, try and take out a large pack. But we would be relying on that dealing a decent amount of damage before they manage to close the gap here. I guess we could maybe just head to this. As long as the crowd doesn't get too big, they shouldn't realize they can just sneak around. We should be able to fight them one by one still. No, unfortunately, random chance not working with us today. The son of a gun cuts off our emergency route there, so we'll instead just take you all the way back to the stairs, bring you up. And I mean, with regen, we can definitely be a little bit cheesier about this than we otherwise might. See how quickly we heal up just taking these steps here, and then can probably fight you. Or if not, if things go poorly like this, that's okay too. Just immediately get back to running, and it should not be long whatsoever before we're back in tip-top shape. Not too shabby here. Base 10 AC is the best that a caster can hope for body armor. This is very true. I mean, oh, I guess you did say base. For a second, I was about to go on a bit of a tangent about how much better it'd be to get an enchanted piece of armor, but you're very much right with that, which is why our character is sitting in a pretty decent place from a spellcaster perspective. A little bit less so from just how often we're using this cutlass. Well, we'll just have to see how the rest of things shakes out here. Well, my elephant pal. I would like to find the rest of the elephant herd before the packs of death yaks, because as we've seen, the death yaks are a little bit more complicated of a process to try and get through. I guess we could try and fireball you 1 or 2 times on your way. Probably worth the health cost. Especially if we don't fail any of them. That's pretty sweet. And we'll fight for a little bit, ready to run away. I mean, you deal, I think, 30 damage. Let's check. Up to 30 damage, indeed. So, I mean, we're still not in one-shot range, though we're getting close. And perfect. We do manage to take out that death yak. Okie dokie. Again, yeah, elephants, much better. I like that fight a heck of a lot more. Nice to just be able to spam tab every once in a while. But there we go, we've also maxed out PD completely with Oka here, which is pretty sweet. We'll have to use duel at some stage in our journey. It's down to 16% failure, so that's pretty sweet. So maybe take a quick read, even though I have a pretty general idea as to what it's able to do. Enters you into single combat with a worthy foe. On success, you and the challenged foe will be transported to Okawar's arena to fight to the death, and no escape until we either emerge victorious or are slain. So the interesting kind of key word here is worthy foe. Because I do believe that it has to be a less or a greater than a negligible fight. You can't just go in there with, you know, a kobold that you find on D12. It does have to be something that's kind of in the yellow to dark red spectrum of danger levels in the game. But I'm excited to try it out at some state or another. We go to stab high health, petrified enemies. Hero can help, a +5 to stealth and short blades increases stab damage nicely. Very true. Yeah, if we find anything really frightening, we should definitely try it out. In general, I've kind of been neglecting some of Okawar's skills here. Super helpful. Heroism, I think, got us through some of our initial like Hydra encounters and stuff like that. Finesse becomes pretty ridiculous with certain weapons because you're just attacking so many times per turn. So maybe even the quick blade and finesse can do some really silly things when comboed together, especially if we can get that electricity brand. No pressure or anything game. But unfortunately, we haven't identified our branding yet, and having just one of each of these random assortment of scrolls, not fantastic. You'd think finesse is more spammable than it used to be. That's very interesting, because I always found finesse to be ridiculously strong and kind of sitting at an appropriate level of spammability. But I mean, I'm not going to complain. That works for me. We'll have to see, and make sure that I'm keeping that in mind as a potential solution for future problems. But there we go, we managed to clear to the end of layer 5 here, which means we'll leave 6 alone for now. Probably just head out to the regular old dungeon. Snake I have an extreme bias against after how our previous Sunday went. And Orc, of course, is a nice little place that we could also potentially explore without too much risk. So let's start by just heading out to the dungeon and see where that leaves us, shall we? I guess we don't have Seen Visible yet, so that might be a little bit of a pain, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, let's see. Why did we run from D12 before? Looks like it had to do with two-headed ogres and hydras. Doesn't seem like too shocking of a reveal, because that's definitely a scary mix of enemies, especially for the stage we were at that point in our run. Now we're looking slightly better. 46% chance to petrify you. Don't mind if I do. In fact, I'll even take a couple turns to fight you even while you're on your way to petrification. And not quite. Let's try that one more time. Wow, we just failed 3 46% in a row? 4? Well, that's less than ideal. Oh, I stepped too fast. Oh no. This is why you have to slow down a little bit, especially when you're playing on web tiles and you haven't in a while. Went down to exactly 0 health. I kind of forgot that I was slowed by the Wraith. But it's kind of in-fitting with how I've been playing lately. But dying with 5 blinking scrolls on you, that's a big oof. Oh no. Oh me oh my. But hey, this happens, especially when you rush your decisions. Sometimes you just gotta take your hands off the keyboard, as I so often like to exclaim. So whoopsie daisies. A very promising character otherwise. Lost in the dungeon here. So sad. 29 damage exactly, taking out our last 29 health.